welcome back to Smash Nets Podcast. This is our recap for Ride or Dies episodes 14 and 15. My name is Zach, and I'm joined, as always, by my wife, Hannah.
Hey, we're here for a two-parter.
It's kind of the way things worked out, because I'll tell you what, we can plan all we want. Honestly, getting 2 weeks behind during Christmas really just made it hard to just get current again. And so we're back here with parts of episode 14 and 15. And then we will be back at the end of this week with episodes 16 and 17. If everything goes according to plan, there's always a potential that something will come up, which has been the case most of the time. Something's just come up and gotten in the way, and so if everything goes according to plan, that's what we're planning on doing, which actually kind of worked out because episodes 14 and 15 basically
they were two-parters.
Yeah, it was a to be continued, so it worked pretty well to kind of do these together. You got any banter or clips you want to get throwing off before get into the recap?
I mean, I was not even going to acknowledge being behind. I was just going to go with hey, this was a two-part. Episode 14 was part 1 and episode 15 was part 2 of one continued thought for this season. And so recording it as a two-part podcast.
Yeah, that's not what I meant by banter. You got any good jokes? Anything like that? I don't. I will say it has gotten so cold in Utah, and I think it's gotten cold throughout the U.S., it seems. I know Dallas and some areas like that have had some pretty severe ice storms and stuff, but within the last 2 or 3 days, it's dropped probably 20 degrees, and it's
at minimum.
Yeah, and it's the cold hasn't bothered us, I don't think.
The cold doesn't bother me anyway. The
wind is what'll get you, especially if you have exposed hands or anything like that. That's where it'll come through and get you. Again, the snow, and apparently this has been a pretty snowy winter so far for Utah compared to the last few years. Hasn't bothered us at all.
Nope.
It does make your car really dirty, just because.
Well,
everyone drives over
the
it.
road is dirty and it gets wet and it flies back and it gets on everything.
But other than that, we haven't had any issues getting around. We haven't had any issues getting out and getting groceries, running errands, taking the dogs out, none of that stuff. So it's been pretty good so far. And I guess all of the precipitation that's been happening has put off any sort of what they call an inversion here, because where most people live in Utah is in the valley, and so I guess if it gets stagnant, this gross air moves in every so often and just kind of sits between the mountains, and then you got to wait for some storm to come through and push it out. But so far, we've not had any of that, so we're good to go. Tell us what you think of inversions, and if you've ever experienced them, because they're new to us for sure. We haven't seen them, honestly.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you think.
That's good thoughts. Those are good thoughts. Thanks for telling us. This is going to be like an episode of Blue's Clues or
Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, where call and response, where we're hello.
Say backpack.
No, I don't want to say backpack, and I don't want anyone to say backpack to me.
Why? I like that word.
Backpack?
Yeah.
Can you speak Spanish at all? That's a no.
No, the thing is, I can't speak it really well. I can read it.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I can read it very well.
Reading it's a lot easier than conversationally hearing it. I want to get better at it.
My brain just can't translate it fast enough for me to remember what words they actually said.
Yeah.
So by the time I could even get it to English, I don't remember what the original word was, and so I'm totally lost because I don't even remember what you said to begin with, much less for me to try and figure out what it means in English.
Yeah, my sister's fluent in it,
but she lived in Costa Rica for a while.
Yeah, but she was fluent in it before that, and I mean, obviously being immersed like that helps. But yeah, I definitely I took Spanish 1 and 2 in high school, and then I did not take a foreign language in college because it wasn't required with my major, so I was not going to do that. And then
I was a communications major and still didn't have to take a second language.
Mine was mass comm, but I didn't have to take it either.
Oh.
But yeah, I just I downloaded Duolingo like a year ago, and I did it for like 2 weeks, and then I stopped, and then never got back on it. I need to get back on it because I was pretty good at it. I mean, obviously only 2 weeks in, but especially where we're at now, there's a much greater like Hispanic population than where we came from.
Yeah.
Like just for reference, I'm sure some people in other areas will get it as well, but compared to Tennessee, it's like if we're watching like YouTube videos or something, there's a decent chance like 25% of them might be in Spanish, the ads that come
here.
up. Yeah, here in Utah, because there's a much greater Hispanic population. And so I can kind of piece together some things, but I don't really know it. I'm definitely rusty on it. I could again, reading it's a little bit easier, but I probably need to get back on Duolingo. I got a lot of stuff I got to get back on, but yeah, good thing is in this episode and in this season, I don't think there's anybody that was speaking Spanish in this whole season. Unlike,
did you say that's a good thing?
Well, for us, because we wouldn't understand it. But I was going to make a joke saying it's a good thing, unlike MILF Manor, which we have not watched, but we've seen some recap videos.
We've been watching Cody Co talk about MILF Manor.
And at the end of the second episode, this woman is like, "You guys can't speak Spanish in front of me." Like, that's
she said that it was disrespectful and it was rude for them to speak Spanish to themselves when she was also in the room.
And they're like, "Well, that's our first language," and it's like, it was almost a "you should go back where you came from" vibe.
Yes, and it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah. That was
the whole show was really uncomfortable, but that was like.
Listen, if you guys are listening, we have not watched it, but we have seen clips and recaps of it. If you don't know what it is,
it's wild.
It's a show called MILF Manor.
It's TLC, which brought us John and Kate plus.
Well, no. I was about to say it's TLC, which when it started, similar. MTV was music television. TLC was the Learning Channel, and it was very boring when I was growing up. And then they've shifted in the mid 2000s to just reality stuff.
It brought us Sister Wives.
Oh yeah, and they're making more money now than they ever have. But
90 Day Fiance.
Oh yeah.
And
600 Pound Life.
600 Pound Life.
600 Pound Sisters or whatever it's called.
Ooh, the ton.
I don't know.
Twin Ton Sisters.
Anyway, it's on there, and so
1,000 Pound Sisters.
I've seen a lot of people that are, and again, if you guys are listening to us, you watch reality TV, albeit maybe a competition.
It's still reality.
This is a dating show, it seems, but it's like I've seen people who are like, I'm very seasoned when it comes to trashy reality TV, and they're like, I think MILF Manor has pushed me too far. Because here's the thing, if you don't know, the basically
spoiler alert,
semi spoilers. I mean, it's revealed in the first episode. They bring in all these MILFs who are 40 to 50-year-old women who all have kids. And they're like, hey, you're going to be on a dating show. And it's like, great, we're going to show how hot we are and all this stuff. Whatever. Do whatever you want. I don't care. The big reveal is that they bring in all these younger guys for them to date, because that's the whole thing. Well, it's all of each other's sons. So there's like 10 women and then their 10 sons, and they're all dating each other. Now, they are not dating their own mom, but there is a lot of weird mini games and dailies and stuff like that are like very, very uncomfortable. Where it's like, hey, you guys are going to be blindfolded and you have to feel everybody's bodies to try to determine what's your own son. And they make jokes and it's like, don't go too far down south, Mom. And you're like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
So if you're interested in anything like that, I guess check it out. I haven't decided if I'm going to actually watch it or not.
I don't know, because these clips that Cody Co has been recapping, they're almost more than enough for me.
It's a lot. Like, they're going to ruin each other's families.
Well, he, in his latest like little YouTube video where he talked about it, he was like, we're watching real life trauma happen in real time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a whole like we're gonna write our secrets on a wall and try to guess who's or whose, and one of them goes way too far.
And like it shows one of the sons when his mom tells him what she's done. He like the camera cuts to him and you see his face fall as he's trying to absorb it.
And she starts crying,
and then
he gets completely blackout drunk and naked and gets in the pool.
He tries to joke it off at first, but his voice breaks, and like this has messed with him.
Yeah,
he's gonna like you hear it kind of said like off the cuff, like, oh, you got to go to therapy for that. He's gonna have to go to therapy for this.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how he's gonna get over it without a licensed professional therapist.
Well, guys, if that's something that you're into, get on TLC or wherever you can stream TLC stuff from.
Crazy. MILF Manor.
Yeah, very
Good
easy to
Lord.
remember. Go for it. It seems to be pretty. It's not pornographic or anything. It's just traumatic.
Yeah, it is. It's more trauma than anything because it's wild middle-aged moms, and they all have sons that are
in their 20s.
In their early 20s, and those sons are trying to date the other moms, and it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Even if you had a mom like that, to be the son in that situation and be like, yeah, I'll come on that. I'll hook up with these other analogs of my mom, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. Because like all the guys are supposed to be like buddies with each other, and they're dating each other's moms.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
I mean,
it's so weird.
It is, and it's so funny because it's basically a 30 Rock reference because like 12 years ago in an episode of 30 Rock, they because if you don't know what 30 Rock is, it's basically a behind the scenes show of like what it's like to work at Saturday Night Live or at NBC or like any of those places. And they pitched a show Alec Baldwin did because he was the like head of the company, where it was called MILF Island. And it was all these like middle-aged women and a bunch of 8th graders, and it's like turn them loose. But that was a joke. Like it was a joke in 2011. I just looked it up.
Yeah, and somebody from TLC saw that.
That's a pretty
and
good
has been
idea.
stewing on it ever since. Like, oh, that's a good idea, but I don't think we could get away with 8th graders. I think there might be too much backlash. So let's bring in their like barely adult sons.
Yeah, it's like who are the horniest people in the world? Like 8th grade boys or like
20-year-old
these 20-year-old e-boys and stuff who are it's again, it's just so funny that was just a one-off joke that like, oh, this would never happen, but it's funny.
And here we are, cut to 2023. It happened.
Well, it just took 12 years. Maybe I should go back and rewatch 30 Rock for more things that I could pitch to networks going forward.
Yeah, we'll rewatch the show, but this time take notes.
Yeah.
And be on the lookout in the coming years for things that came to fruition.
Just kidding. I was looking at it was episode 11, but it's from 2008, so it's even further back.
Oh my gosh,
it's 15 years ago, man. So yeah.
Hey, times have changed in 15 years.
That's true. That's true. You're one of those that's like it ain't like it used to be.
It ain't. You're right.
Episode. Oh, you good?
I had to sneeze.
That was a cough more than
no,
anything.
it was a sneeze. That's what it sounds like when I sneeze.
Well,
we've been married for 7 years. You should know.
Well, we get into episode 14, and
Bananas is bummed that Mariah's gone.
Again, spelling error.
But also knows that there's a twist right around the corner, so he can't let himself focus on it too much.
That was my first thing. Was just like everyone knows the twist is coming. They're trying to figure out what it is. We then kind of get this like outdoor fire pit thing, and Horacio brings Olivia a bunch of flowers for her birthday.
And a sweet card that he wrote for her. And she cries.
Did she? I don't remember.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not used to having people do something so nice for me. And, even though we're not partners anymore, he's always going to be my partner, and he really has my back. And
yeah. I mean,
it was like a really emotional thing for her.
To me, I don't know their past, honestly. Like, they could be just as much as some of the other ones where they aren't really Ryder dies.
Like Fessy and Mariah.
Yeah, but to me, like it does seem like they have more of a relationship outside of, and not a like romantic relationship.
No, they're like actual legitimate friends.
It seems that way. And so the next note I have, it just says, and I get the context. I don't remember how we got here, but it just says, "Call me maybe at a bayou," with a question mark, because they go to this like bar area, but it's just like a swamp. Like there's just sand and like weird dirty water and like a tree line right there. Like it's not the same bar they've gone to before.
Yeah.
And they don't explain it. Like they didn't even say like, oh, it's a night out, day out, or whatever. They just kind of hard cut. And I was like, this is an interesting area. And they did play "Call Me Maybe."
Yeah, because it started playing the song, and you're like, oh, why do I know this song? And I was like, everybody knows this song. And
it was before they got,
Yeah.
It was the first part of the verse. I was like, I know what this is.
We get a confessional from Jordyn. He says, in this game, you have to separate personal life and game. Cut to Tori asking Anissa if Jordyn will say her name for elimination, and asks Anissa if he's told her whether or not he would do that. Because Anissa's like, he's not going to say your name. And she's like, well, did he tell you that?
Well, and she says she tells Anissa that Jordyn is going to have a talk with her eventually, and Anissa just says, why?
Well, she was like, what kind of talk does he need to have?
Yeah.
And rhetorically asked Tori if this was the right place to have that conversation.
Yeah, she said, no, she just straight up said, this isn't the place.
Yeah, but like she starts off like with the rhetorical questions, like we got to make you start answering these questions yourself. Like
it just doesn't make any sense, because she's like, well, he's just going to have a talk with me. And Anissa, like everyone else watching, is like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why are you just like inserting more of this drama into everyone's lives that they have to watch it?
Yeah, and I mean, we even get, I don't know if it's here or later in the episode, Anissa in a confessional where she's like, I know I'm sick of it.
It was during
She's like, I'm sick of it, so I know everybody else is sick of it too.
Yeah.
But I want to commend Anissa, because she was asking all the important questions that we were asking our
Well,
TV.
it's what Tori's the only one on this thought process.
Yes.
Even Jordyn would be like, no, this isn't the place. Like she again, every chance she gets, she's just like, how can I inject myself and my problems into this?
Yeah. I mean, again, in his confessional, in this game, you have to separate personal life and game.
Yeah, duh. Like anyone who's ever been on the challenge knows that. Like they know, eventually you're gonna have to probably screw over some people that you like and are friends with in real life and whatever. So we go to the daily. It's called Takes Two to Tango. Basically, there's a 10-minute time limit, and if you don't make it, you get yanked and fall 20 stories. It's the same building they already did an earlier daily on.
I don't think we had anybody expire.
Fell. No, Chauncey quit.
But that was before they even started.
Yeah, but nobody.
There was nobody that maxed out on time.
No. Yeah, which again, like, anyway, we'll get to. So yeah, Tori and Anissa go. I just have
Tori and Fessy go
that's
first.
What I meant. I have real quick notes. Like I don't have like breakdowns. Just like Tori and Fessy make it. Chauncey quits, so that means Anissa does too. Jordyn and Nany make it. Then we get a Livin' La Vida Loca montage with Devin and Amber make it. Olivia and Bananas make it. Nany and Horacio make it. Fessy and Casey make it. And I was like, no one falls.
Yeah.
So
I have some more in-depth, not as in-depth, just, Fessy and Tori go first. He was shaking the entire time like a leaf. Chauncey tells TJ he doesn't think he can do it. TJ tells Chauncey, you're not a quitter. Devin pipes.
He's like, yes, I am.
Devin pipes up and says, you even have the other team over here cheering for you. TJ, you've already jumped off of this building. I'm not even asking you to jump off. I'm asking you to stay on.
Yeah.
And he continues to quit.
Well, and like nobody fell and nobody ran out of time. And so like more than likely he wouldn't have fallen or ran out of time. So anyway, yeah, I know that like heights are a big thing to overcome mentally. I mean, we've seen Darrell quit on heights challenges. It's just happened over the years. But Fessy and Casey are the team that won it because, again, he went twice, and he kind of got his bearings with Tori, and they had an odd number, so he had to go again. And so he went with Casey, and they go pretty fast. And so the interrogation, we get basically Bananas is talking to the rest of his team and says he wants to leave Devin off as the direct vote. He just doesn't want to put Devin in as direct vote because you've got, Jordyn and Horacio and these guys who are a little bit more of a threat in the final, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you kind of know what you got with Devin. As far as like strengths and weaknesses, Jordyn's a wild card because Jordyn,
honestly, in a way, Jordyn's not a wild card. You know what you've got with Devin, and you also know what you've got with Jordyn. If Jordyn makes it to the final, there's a really good chance he wins.
Yeah, I'm saying like leading into the final, like it's a wild card just because like you put him in these situations where he's undermanned, and somehow he typically, more than not, ends up figuring it out.
Yeah,
which we'll see in the next episode. But
I liked that Bananas opened up to the team about saving Devin and immediately asked Tori if there's any way she can say Jordyn's name. And Tori basically says she wants to say Jordyn's name out of spite. And we get a Tori confessional where she says that she's tired. She's tired of sticking her neck out for someone who won't communicate with her.
Well, so when they bring in Devin to start, basically
he tries to break the tension by joking around.
Well, he's just like, I don't want to be the vote.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know this at this point, but they don't want him to be the vote necessarily. And so that's really all that kind of happened with them. When Horacio comes in, we get a confessional with Fessy, or maybe he said it directly to him. I don't remember, but he says, I see myself in Horacio. And I was like, in what way? Like, how are Fessy and Horacio the same?
They're not.
Yeah. But he sees it that way. He's like, I see myself in this guy.
I don't know why.
Well, he said
I don't know where that came from.
And then Jordyn basically comes in and said, guys, like, I know I know how it is. There's only 3 of us left. One of us is going to be the vote, and then the other one's got a 50% chance of going in.
He even tells Fessy he owes Jordyn one because Jordyn threw him in.
And again, he knows how it works. And then Tori has a quote that says, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to express myself. And I was like, of course she is.
When she said that, you paused it and you looked at me, you're like, of course she's going to do this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when is she not taking an opportunity to express herself?
Well, it comes down to it. Jordyn tells Tori it's 100% locked down. He would never say her name. Yeah. My note was in her confessional, she just cannot effing help herself but to use every window of opportunity to back Jordyn in a corner and get into a fight, no matter the circumstances, no matter who's in the room.
Yeah, she's like, you called me a terrorist, and he's like, a terrorist of love.
Yeah, and like, next note, Jordyn makes every solid good point in calling her out on her crap. Yeah, in this instant.
It's just so, that's what was so ironic to me. She's like, I'm going to take this as an opportunity. Because I haven't in the past. And it's like, no, you've taken everyone's opportunity to say how you feel and how you want to express yourself in this situation and make it worse every step of the way. And so again,
I mean, he made all the good points by bringing up, and again, this isn't a room full of people. Answered her
who are not looking. They're just kind of looking away because they don't.
Because nobody wants to be in that room at that moment.
Bananas might, but.
But like he tells her like, hey, you took our personal relationship. Yeah. Like he's like, it wasn't just a relationship in the game. It wasn't just a relationship outside of the game. He's like, we were engaged. We were going to get married, and that's as committed as you can get to someone. Like marrying them and spending the rest of your life with them. That's as committed as it gets. And he's like, that's what I had with you, and you dangled that over my head to make me make a decision in this game for you.
Oh, you don't have to explain it to me. I get it.
But that was his whole thing, and she still did not click for her.
No, again, like it's almost like she should think like, what do I want to do? And then be like, oh, I should probably do the opposite of that. Just not go with my gut instincts. So we then after this, we get like a room camera thing where it's like Horacio and Jordyn in their bunk area talking. That's when you kind of find out that, they've actually become pretty good friends.
They're like really tight now. Jordyn says
which will come in play next episode too.
Jordyn says that Horacio is like maybe his best friend in the house, and he's really looking forward to like continuing their really good friendship outside of the game.
I mean, he's because Horacio, it's like kind of quiet, competes well, not causing like he's not Josh. He's not like getting into it with people.
Oh, I miss Josh.
It's like it's not that, and so I get why he would want to be friends with him, and so
I mean, Jordyn came back and told Horacio everything that happened in that interrogation, and also says he doesn't think it's possible to have a friendship with Tori. We get a Tori confessional saying it's clear they can't work together. My note was, that's because you keep dragging your personal issues into every conversation you can, sister.
You called her sister?
I did call her sister.
Okay. Well, we go to the elimination, and basically they do the votes, and they end up voting Horacio. Kind of, I think Banana says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just because that's just kind of how it's been going. And so we get to the dagger pool, and it's between Devin and Jordyn. And Devin goes and picks the safe dagger again. It says, "Call him Young Dagger."
He said, "Call me Young Dagger. That's my hip hop name."
Yeah. I wrote that as YUNG, no O, like how some of the rappers do, like Young Dagger.
Okay, yeah.
And so they're playing balls in. Classic elimination. I've seen it many times over the years, and so it's pretty straightforward. Just like one would score, then the other score, and Jordyn's, I got to be honest, Jordyn seemed a little checked out.
Okay, my note to start off the elimination was Jordyn looks pretty checked out as soon as they walked out.
I mean, just think about, though, if you were Jordyn and you're just trying to, like, live your life and play this game, and at every chance, Tori is making this, like, public spectacle where you have to defend yourself and your actions. Like, it would weigh on me too.
I mean, it's not just that. Like, even in the middle of the vote, like it was getting to him because Bananas was the final vote. Tori was the second to last vote.
She probably made a speech. I didn't
and when
write
it came to her, she just took a long time.
That's what it was.
And he had a confessional before she said anything. He was like, "It really kills me seeing Tori get as emotional as she's been. It really kills me." And then she votes for Horacio, and we get another Jordyn confessional where he says there's always the question of what if. What if it could work? And that's he said, and that's always going to underline everything for us.
But I didn't take it that way. The way you read it makes me seem like, oh well, what if we got back together and everything worked out? My take on that was, what if it did work, like in the past? Like, what if this had gone an alternate direction and it had basically, we had all of our stuff worked out. You can envision that because you did have good times with this person. I didn't take that as, oh, well, maybe there's a chance in the future.
That's not, I wrote direct quote. I used his exact wording, not what if it did work. He explicitly said in this inflection, what if it could work? And he says, and that's always going to underline everything for us. And so it's taken an emotional toll on him, even though he's not showing it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from Horacio, but they were, 1-1, 2-2, and then in the third round, Jordyn runs in there, which Jordyn's strategy for Horacio was to meet him at the edge of the circle, which isn't the best strategy when you're on defense, but in round 3, Jordyn's running, and the ball pops out when Horacio goes to wrap him up, and then it just like falls off to the side, and after a while, they're like, hey, that's a dead ball. And so then Horacio just has to score the last time, and he does, and so he wins. And Horacio won, and like it's crazy that Jordyn would lose something like this because that's pretty atypical of him.
But Horacio is a soccer player, and so he
wanted to be a professional soccer player.
Like, that should tell you something. He's really quick on his feet, and so I knew that this was going to be a really tough matchup for Jordyn, even though he does always seemingly somehow, some way pull a rabbit out of his hat and beat whoever it is, no matter what. But I mean, before the elimination started, Jordyn said that he wants to leave a legacy of all eyes on him in an elimination. Win or lose, he's going to put on a show. And I mean, even though he did lose, he still put on a show.
Oh yeah, no, he competed with, like, we've seen eliminations where you can tell people just give up.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. I just think his head wasn't fully there.
And he's even says after Horacio wins, Jordyn says that this was easily mentally the hardest season of his career.
Yeah.
And then I
wonder why.
As he leaves, he looks up and apologizes to Tori, which I think, like, I commend him for that.
Because honestly, he didn't have to.
He didn't have to, but he did.
Yeah.
Because, like, at the end of the day, he still loves her in a way. And so he's not going to want to, on his end at least, not going to want to leave with a lot of strife.
So I feel like what he's done has basically, for the most part, just defended himself or been reactionary to what Tori has brought on. To me, he hasn't gone out of his way to, like, maliciously, like, go after Tori. I know that he had where he was, like, getting friendly with Nerys and all that stuff, but that was more of, oh, we've been broken up for a long time. I'm just here and I'm just seeing what's happening. It wasn't, like, out of spite. But I feel like he knows that even though that's what happened, Tori has taken it and internalized it in a way that these are attacks against her. Even with the thing with Fessy and all that, when he was like, you started this. And she's like, you're doing this to me. And so I think that's what he's apologizing for. Because even though he doesn't necessarily agree and he was mostly defending himself, that he is like, I'm sorry for, like, this whole situation. Because we're both... Anyway.
Well, TJ... announces, after Jordyn leaves, TJ announces that Horacio has officially tied for all-time most elimination wins in a single season.
Yeah.
Who's he tied with? Wes and Casey.
Well, no, and Sarah from the Gauntlet 1.
And Sarah from Gauntlet 1.
Which I don't even think you know her.
No.
Because it's not Sarah from
it's not
Brain
Sarah
Kingdom.
Rice.
No. It's Sarah Grayson, I believe is her last name.
But they showed Wes and Casey, and I was like, oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's
Wes
great.
And Casey's both rookie season, but Wes dragged her. And
it wasn't Wes's rookie season,
yes,
was it?
Yeah.
They were both rookies?
Yeah, it was a weird situation where, from what I remember, where they weren't considered fresh meat because they were coming in from the real world, and they put them on the thing as, like, the people who have been in the MTV community already. And the fresh meat picks were people who had no background in the
reality,
real world or road rules. It's just completely new people. And so, I don't think they had competed on the challenge yet, as far as the Austin crew, which was him, Danny, Melinda, and Johanna. Mm-hmm. But they were considered the, quote, vets that got to pick from the fresh meat crew.
Okay.
Because I think the Austin real world season was so popular that they were just like, just bring him in. Like, let's make this transition. Anyway, Bananas tells Tori that, Jordyn being gone will probably be good for her mental game after all this. Probably, yeah.
Well, not necessarily mental game, but mental health.
He said mental game.
Oh, I heard health.
And
he said what you just went through, honestly, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah. But again, a lot of it was self-inflicted. Then out of nowhere, the next, like, morning, it seems like it's early-ish in the morning.
Everybody's still in their pajamas.
No makeup. Like, you have, like, Fessy and Bananas are out working out, and then everyone else is just kind of, like, in the house. And so I would assume it's, like, 9 a.m., something like that. And TJ just strolls up and, like, comes in the side where Bananas and them are working out, and they're like, oh no.
He doesn't say a word to them, just walks into the house.
And so we get in there and he tells everyone to come down, and he sits on the edge of the pool table, and I don't remember exactly why, but I think they're like, Bananas TJ came to our house, and TJ's like, this is my house.
Bananas said, you're in our house, so that checks out. And TJ said, actually, this is my house.
Yeah, and so he's like, hey, everyone, get ready. And so they go to the zone. And
they had to pack up, too.
Yeah, and so they all go to the zone, And clearly way later because it's nighttime when they filmed this, and this was definitely in the morning whenever TJ came in.
It's like production said they're only allowed to step foot
in the zone
at night.
So we get there, and TJ's like, hey, I told you, even though in your teams you live or die by your ride or dies, so everyone get back in your original pairs.
He said the reason he put them in the teams was to test their ride or dies, to see like what they did, even though they're not on the same team anymore.
Yeah.
Because he told Fessy, Anise, and Casey that they couldn't protect their ride or die.
Yeah. And so he tells them to come on down. And so those 3 come down because everyone else is already back in their pairs. And he gets real tricky with his wordplay. Mm-hmm. And he's just, I don't remember I
have the quote.
Yeah, I don't have the quote, but
he said, unfortunately, you cannot continue in this game without a partner.
And then pauses. And
Nani looks like she's going to cry.
Yeah.
I wrote, like, we obviously know that he's bringing their partners back, but I still made a note that Fessy's got to be kicking himself for the way he treated Mariah.
Well, and he was happy, I think, that she was gone. But so anyway, he's like, good news for you is that your partners, I don't even know what he said. He said something, and then they see them like walking up. They see Kenny and them coming through the bushes, and everyone starts cheering.
Anissa and Casey both scream out in excitement.
Yeah.
And Fessy is clearly not nearly as excited for his partner.
He just kind of turns around and looks at the rest of the people.
Yeah.
And so
that's probably because they're not actual ride or dies, and he doesn't really care that much about her. His only concern is just staying in the game.
Well, for the most part, they definitely seem like they're not Jordyn and Anissa are a manufactured ride or die couple.
But they are friends.
They're friendly, but they were not best friends coming into this. But it seems, again, with Fessy and Mariah more than anything, that Fessy was like, oh, I need a really like buff chick that can hang out with me and keep up and all that stuff. And Mariah fit that bill. And so they're like, yeah, we're best friends.
Well, he didn't even know how many siblings she had. And she doesn't even know when his birthday is.
Yeah, and she had a lot of siblings. So basically TJ's like, well, guess what? We're going to play eliminate. Well, he actually announced that, Nerys and Nelson, since they both got eliminated, they're gone. But he said that the rest of you guys are going to have a chance to get back in this game, and we're going to be doing an elimination where the winner gets to stay and the losers will get one last chance. And so it's called Don't Let Me Down. And basically you have this big barrel on like in the sand, and there's like a ramp at like 30% incline or something like that.
I was thinking more like 45.
Well, okay. And you've got to push the barrel, which is really heavy, up past a certain line, which is like, I don't know, a third of the way up the ramp. So like you got to get up there and then hold it and keep your feet above the line as well. And so basically it's just a pair that stays above the line for 1 minute, gets back in the game. And it's not 1 minute like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like 1 minute cumulatively. So it's not like if you stayed up there for 15 seconds and then fell, you only had 45 seconds left.
No, you got to do a full minute.
And so, clearly right away, like Fessy and Mariah are the favorites for this. Because, they're just so much bigger than everyone else. Like
Casey and Kenny really struggled to even get started.
They were
all over the place.
Again, everyone's like, Kenny's the nicest guy in the world. He's not good at this show. It is what it is. And, Jordyn and Anissa could get up the ramp, but they couldn't sustain it in enough time. And they slipped past the line like once or twice. And Mariah and Fessy kind of, once they get up there and hold on, like they're just holding it. And so they get to come back in. And then, basically we get another elimination, but it's to be continued. And that's where this episode ends. And we know that in the following episode, there's going to be another mini elimination to see who gets to stay in the game between the other two pairs. And so that's how this episode ended. Who is your pick for who smashed some heads in this episode?
Who smashed some heads? Horacio for getting in the challenge history books.
Yeah, I'll give that to him too. Just even though one of those at least was very much crowd funded. Essentially they were
the one versus Turbo.
Yeah, they just didn't want Turbo around anymore. But he's
not
proven
just
himself
that,
since then.
Like he's done a lot of it on his own, and not only that, but to do it as a rookie, Horacio is a big threat in this game.
Yeah, and I think honestly though, probably everyone who's at that record was a rookie because again, like Wes and Casey would have both been challenge rookies at that point, and then probably Sarah was. I don't want to look it up right now, but she probably was a rookie, but maybe not because typically you just don't go into that many eliminations unless you're a rookie.
Or unless you've really upset most of the people in the house.
Yeah, it's just rare to go into a ton of them unless there's just a weird format or something. And so, I'll give it to Horacio just because that is not something I expected to happen this season for someone to hit that type of thing. And so, who got their head smashed?
Exact words: Tori, like the 5th week in a row.
Interesting that you say that because I thought about not giving it to Tori this week, even though I've been doing that for the last few. I almost gave it to Jordyn.
Really?
Because again, he just it seemed like he was checked out and he was kind of at peace with losing.
Mm-hmm. And
then he finds out that when he comes back, he's like, oh, he's not just playing for himself. I think if he was just playing for himself, he was like, I just getting away from all this and from all this unnecessary drama and stuff would probably be good. But
yeah,
now that Anissa is dependent on this and, Anissa's gone home before 4 other finals, that definitely motivates him some more. So I'll give it to him because I wouldn't typically give it to him any other time. So for this episode, we have movies that begin with the letter G for our recommendations.
I've got some good ones.
I've got a lot, and I didn't think I was going to.
I cut myself off at 5 because I didn't want to go forever.
Well, here's the way that I make my list because, again, you don't do it the same way I do. I get on Wikipedia and look up everything foreign and domestic.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that.
Well, and I just write, when I go through ones, I'm like, oh, yeah, this might make the cut. So I'll just write it down anyway. And because I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head how many G movies there are that I like. And so, at the beginning, like honestly, on here I have Galaxy Quest, but I probably won't have. That's not going to be in my final whatever we do because, even though I remember liking it, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I probably didn't get a lot of the references because it's kind of like a parody of, Star Trek and so it's Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver and what's his name, Alan Rickman and stuff like that. And so I probably didn't get a lot of the references back then, but I remember liking it, and I know people really like that movie these days. But I just write down as we go, and then I got to the end, and I'm like, I have 12 movies on here, and I think
can't do 12.
No, I think you're gonna have some of them. And so
I know I have at least one on here that you've never seen because a few weeks ago when you made your first list of movies, I couldn't believe that this was on your list of things that you hadn't seen.
I know of 2 that are on my list to watch this year that both start with G that you've seen that I haven't.
Okay.
But yeah, you can go first.
Gangs of New York.
That was the one I figured.
That's my I don't rate the movies typically in order. Gangs of New York is my number 1 G movie.
Yeah. That's on my list to watch.
That's probably my number 1 G movie of all time.
Better than George of the Jungle? No.
Excuse me.
I actually don't have that on here because even though I know that would be in my list, I haven't seen it. Same with The Green Mile, it didn't have it on here. And
that's actually the one I was planning on. I forgot you haven't seen Gangs of New York.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I figured you'd have both of those, but I'm gonna try to pick ones that you won't have.
Okay.
And so
there were a lot of G movies that I think I would like, but I either know that I haven't seen it or I can't remember anything about the movie, and so I just don't count it because that probably means I haven't seen all of it.
I'm gonna pick to start off with Godzilla from 2014 with Bryan Cranston and Elizabeth Olsen, and that one kid who's I can't remember his name.
We saw this one together, didn't we?
Yes, I think no. Well, maybe, I don't know.
I couldn't remember. That's why
I've seen it. I mean,
that's why I didn't put it in the list because I couldn't remember. It. I know that we've seen a lot of the movies in this franchise, but I couldn't remember if we've seen specifically Godzilla.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's the guy that may be James Bond going forward. I couldn't remember his name. But
Millie Bobby Brown is in it.
No, she's in the 2019 one.
Oh.
I don't know why she's listed here in the 2014 one. I don't think she's not in that. Anyway, that one I like those movies a lot. I like Kong Skull Island better than this one, but
I like monster movies like that. It's got like a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World feel to it. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I 2014 one, it's really good. It kind of like relaunched that whole universe, and so I'm really into that. So, what's your next one?
The Green Mile.
Oh yeah, I didn't put that one on here because again I haven't seen it. I didn't know if you would put it on here because I know that it's very very sad.
Oh, when you told me that this movie was on your initial list of movies.
It still is.
I still have a hard time believing that you've never seen it before. I remember when we talked about it, I told you that I've seen it twice. The last time I saw it has been well over 10 years ago because it is so... It just hurts me to watch so much.
I mean, it came out in like 1999, and I would have been like 12 or 13 at the time, and like I couldn't watch R-rated movies then. And it's just one that I never got around to. I remember weirdly, one of the like first girls I ever was like talking to, like quote talking to. She was like, "Oh, we should watch this. Like one of my favorite movies."
Oh my gosh!
And I was like 15 or so. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "I like Tom Hanks," and we never did though.
Oh.
And
I can't imagine it being someone's favorite movie.
Yeah, I know the subject matter, and and also like as a like date movie, it seems very weird.
Maybe she was thinking of 8 Mile.
No. It was The Green Mile, 100%.
Wow. It is not one of my favorite movies, but I do think it's one of the best movies I've seen. I watched it with my mom, first time I ever saw it, and I wept for 3 days, much like I did after watching The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which I also watched with my mom for the first time. We both just cried and cried.
Your mom was like going through it.
No, my mom and I would like.
She's like, "Hey, let's watch these with my daughter." They
would be. I was not a teenager. I was way younger than a teenager.
Well, that's even worse.
No, yeah. I think that's why it's so burned into me. No, when I was in middle school, my mom worked Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and that was all she worked.
And she's like, "You know what I want to do between the times?"
So she would be home throughout the week, and so after school, I would come and sit in the living room with her, and she would be folding laundry or something and have the TV on, and it would always be on like FX or something like that played movies throughout the day.
Oh, so you may have seen like the edited versions, like TV versions.
Yes.
Okay.
Most likely TV versions of
that's a little more understanding because again these are rated R for reasons.
I know, but that's how my mom and I watched a lot of movies together. Is it was just whatever was on TV. We would sit.
I remember that.
I would sit in the living room, and while she did laundry, we would sit there and watch it together. And The Green Mile messed with me so much. Like I cried and cried and cried. Yeah. I still cry every now and then when I think about it.
Did Michael Clark Duncan win any like Oscar? Or anything
oh, he should have.
Green Mile Academy Awards. Let's see, because I know like his performance, especially.
Like I'm a Tom Hanks fan, but Boy, he knocked his role out of the park.
Nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Michael Clark Duncan, nominated for Best Writing and Screenplay, nominated for Best Sound. It did not win any of those, though.
I can't believe it.
And it was nominated at the Screen Actor Guild Awards, too. But, yeah.
The Green Mile is one of those movies that I think everyone, no matter who you are, I think everyone should watch it at least once in their lifetime.
Interesting. I'm just looking at what. So the one who beat him for the Best Supporting Actor was Michael Caine in The Cider House Rules, which I've never seen. Haley Joel Osment was nominated for The Sixth Sense, which is kind of weird. I wonder what won Best Picture that year. I'm trying to find it. Kevin Spacey won Best Lead Actor. Best Director, Best Costume Design, Best Documentary, Best Special Effects was The Matrix, Best Film Editing, Matrix. Why is Best Picture? Oh, American Beauty won.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, no, I've seen American Beauty a lot. Cider House Rules was right up there too, and then the Green Mile and The Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense was nominated for. Wow, man, M. Night Shyamalan's career started at such a high note, and then it's just not ever hit that same mark again. His first huge movie was nominated for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, and all that. Anyway. I was just curious what actually beat that out. American Beauty is a good movie.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie.
So, I'm gonna pick for my next one. It's a movie that I really liked a lot in high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen it since then.
Mm-hmm.
I think it holds up, but I probably need to rewatch it. But I know you haven't seen it. It's called Garden State, and it's Zach Braff. It's his directorial debut, and it's him and what's her name? I just lost it. I just completely lost it.
I don't know.
People are gonna be freaking out. She looks like why can't I think? It's Natalie Portman, I think. Yeah, it's
Peter Sarsgaard.
No, I don't think Natalie Portman is Peter Sarsgaard. He is in this movie. But yeah, Natalie Portman. And it's just an indie movie, and it's got a good soundtrack, and it's just what I was into at the time for sure. I probably need to watch it again, especially since you haven't seen it. But
okay. I'll watch that if you watch The Green Mile.
I'm going to watch The Green Mile already, but it's going to probably be October based on where my list is. But yeah, that's it's over the top, in your face about she's at a doctor's office, and he's like, what are you listening to? She's like, you ever heard of the Shins? And he's like, no. And then they play the Shins, and then that's part of the soundtrack. And I like the Shins, but it's just, I don't know. It may be a product of its time, but I liked it back then.
Okay. My next one.
Yeah.
George of the Jungle.
I thought that might be on there. I had that on my list initially because I was like, all I have on my list is Galaxy Quest and Garden State and George of the Jungle, and that's the only three.
I have always, my entire life, I've been a big Brendan Fraser fan. I've always just loved him.
Are you going to watch The Whale?
I don't know. I want to support
it.
him. I'm afraid it's going to be too heavy for me.
Because he's big.
No.
That's the whole point. He's just, it's a really sad state.
George of the Jungle, 1997. My grandma had this on VHS.
I had it on VHS.
So, Grandma's house, the way it's kind of set up, the layout is weird because they did an add-on later on.
It's like rooms added on to other rooms.
So that add-on area where we do Christmas, that's been there longer than I've been alive. And so she had this big, huge TV. It was clunky, but also it had a pretty big screen on it. And she had a DVD player or a VHS player.
Yeah.
And so she had a collection of these type of VHS movies, and George of the Jungle was one of them.
Yeah.
And I used to, when I would stay with her in the summers, I would watch this movie all the freaking time.
Yeah, no, I watched it a lot growing up. We had it on VHS. That reminded me though, my grandma, my mom's mom,
mm-hmm.
they used to just have. She would record movies off of TV onto home VHS. And so we would have all these movies that had the commercials in them.
Really?
And so we one of the like vivid ones that I 100% remember was like the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, like when they go to like their grandma's house for Christmas or whatever, and they're not supposed to be, and they're like wandering around the city. I can't remember what the name of that movie is, but they're like 7, and there's a guy that's like playing saxophone out on the street, and he's asking for money, and they throw like chicken bones in there, and they're like, "There's some meat on there," and like I don't remember. It's not It Takes Two, but they anyway, that just brought that back, that we used to watch a lot of movies like that. Like I'm pretty sure Beethoven was like that over there.
I never, like, my parents and grandparents never did that. I think grandma just didn't know how to do something like that.
Yeah.
And so she would just buy the VHS tape at Walmart for me. But that's also how I would watch many, many, many different Fraggle Rocks.
Oh no,
on a loop. If there's anything that I watched growing up, is Fraggle Rock. Like that's the epitome of my childhood.
Interesting.
They would eat the little people's construction homes.
Let me play this clip for you. Oh, this is an ad. I don't want to play an ad. What movie was this from? From To Grandmother's House We Go.
Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, I think it was a TV movie.
They did a bunch of those.
Yeah. Again, this was like middle of Full House era.
Did you just drop a chicken bone in my case?
There's still some meat on there.
Oh, okay.
That's it. This is a little clip.
There's still some meat on there. They are not 7.
No,
they're
they're
so
like
much
5.
younger
Yeah, they're
than
like 4
7.
or 5. This is I couldn't remember. It's been a while. So
Oh.
I watched George's Jungle a lot growing up. So I had that on my list initially, but I was like, it's probably not going to make the
Guess
cut.
the current rating.
Of George of the Jungle?
Yeah.
On what?
IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, whichever.
Well, those are two completely different.
They're the same.
IMDb typically grades a little tougher than Rotten Tomatoes audience score.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, like a 6.5 on IMDb.
5.5 on IMDb, 55% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I said they're the same. 53% on Metacritic.
It's a very middle of the road.
Yeah, I forget that Leslie Mann was the romantic love interest,
the one that gets kidnapped by the guy from Wings and who ended up being the Sandman in the Spider-Man movies. I'm pretty sure that's him.
Okay.
So yeah, the my next one, I don't know what number we're on.
I've done 3 so far.
This is my third one then. Good Burger.
Oh, I didn't even see that movie on the list.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not high class cinema, and it's not like something that you're gonna be like, oh wow, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
But it's classic Keenan and Kel.
Yeah, like I think maybe the best version of that. Like,
Agreed.
And it still has lines that like I still think about to this day.
You still quote it every now and then.
Yeah, where it's like he gives him that contract and he's like, I know some of these words, and like it had Carmen Electra like at her like peak hotness, and that like just introduced a whole new level to me as a little kid. And you got Sinbad in it, and Shaq's in it for just a brief minute.
Oh, I forgot about that.
They just take that burger car to deliver food to him at a game. So anyway, I like that movie. I don't think it's great, but it is fun still.
All right, well, since we're going down that road, my next one is a Goofy movie.
I figured you might have that one. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. No, I think that is probably one of the best animated movies from my childhood.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It holds up.
Yeah, and like looking back on it now as an adult, like we don't have kids or anything, obviously, but like the fact that like his son wanted to like ditch him and all he wanted to do was spend time with him and like take him across, like it is like it had a lot more.
Hits home.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great movie. These last two are gonna be tough for me. For my last two, I'm gonna pick movies that I don't think many
Last two, I've got one left.
Yeah, but
Oh, that's right.
I'm gonna pick movies that I don't think many people have probably seen.
Okay.
Comparatively, like I have like Gran Torino on here, and that's a good movie.
Dang, I didn't see that one on the list either.
It's a good
movie.
movie.
I went through multiple lists,
but like a lot of people saw that, and like Glass Onion was like on my list, and anyway, Gladiator. But those are like huge movies.
Oh, it sounded like that was going to be your next
one.
No,
those are huge movies. So my next one is I'm gonna pick a movie that I've talked to you about, which I don't think it's a great movie, but I liked it a lot when it came out. It's called Green Street Hooligans. Shout out to Ross, our UK friend, and it's about Elijah Wood gets in some trouble in the U.S. for some reason. I don't remember exactly what, and he goes to live with his sister and her husband in the UK. Her husband has a brother who's Charlie Hunnam, and basically he takes Elijah Wood around with him to all these like soccer games, but like in like the football club culture, like soccer culture, like it's exaggerated in this movie, obviously, but like they meet up and they like fight each other, and it's like if you mixed like if you mixed like Ted Lasso and Fight Club together. Like it's that style of thing. Like
that is kind of, because I've seen enough to know that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like some of the fights and stuff, and so it's a good movie. They made a sequel with like all of the like small time guys like that aren't Charlie Hunnam and Elijah Wood, and it was like set in prison, and I never even saw it, but it was like years later, and I liked this one a lot. I want to go back and watch. I tried to get you to watch it a couple months ago, and you didn't want to.
It's sometimes things like that are too heavy for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it's just a weird thing, and it was especially weird because it's 2005, and like the Lord of the Rings ended like 2003, 2002, and so like Elijah Wood hadn't done a ton since then because that just took up so many years of his life, and so I was like, oh, this is an interesting turn for him. Like he's gonna fight people and stuff. And they kind of play into that, like, oh, he gets like beat up pretty good because he doesn't know how to do it. And but anyway, I just picked that because it's not a movie. It's not Gladiator. Like that was a Best Picture nominee or anything like that. So what's your last one?
My last one is Game Night.
I completely missed that one. I would have had that on my list for sure.
I put it last, but I was like, well, I've got 5. If we overlap, this would be the one we overlap on.
I missed it completely. I love that movie.
It is such a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's fun and it's funny. I really, really liked it.
I thought you might have Glass Onion on here.
Glass Onion didn't show up on any of my lists.
Oh yeah, Game Night's great. Like it's John Francis Daly, who was in Freaks and Geeks and a bunch of other stuff, Bones and things like that. But he wrote and directed this, and it's Jason Bateman and what's her name?
Rachel
McAdams. And is Lamorne in this movie from New Girl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lamorne Morse.
It's been a little bit since I've seen it, but I really do like it. It's kind of like it's almost like a whodunit type thing, but it's just like things get way crazier, go to like a place you don't expect them to go.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to have like a fun game night with their friends, and it turns into this like whole big weird thing. It's really good. I would have 100% had that on my list. I just forgot about it.
I thought for sure. I kept waiting for you to say it.
It would have been on there. I'll pick for my last one, just because I don't think many people saw it. It was a documentary called "God Grew Tired of Us," and it's about young, like early teenage Sudan, like these kids from Sudan, from like refugees from like war-torn Sudan, that came to the U.S. as like war refugees, and their perspective on like, well, why is America like set up like this, and like where we came from is so like poor and war torn and stuff. And the movie's called God Grew Tired of Us, and it's like it's like them like dealing. It's been a long time since I saw it, but it's them like dealing with like they take them to like a mall for the first time and like
Wow.
just driving around like attack like in cities and stuff, and they have no frame of reference for anything because they're just literally were like the poorest of the poor in the world, and they just got like refugee status and were able to come over, and it's just like their experience of like their first however long in the U.S. It's a really interesting and like really. I saw this before I went to Kenya for the first time, and after going there, and it's like you just see stuff like you just will never experience in the U.S. And like someone who's only had that their whole life, like coming to just like a mall, like in a big city, like that's just it's just so like it's so foreign, like it's very eye opening, and that I put it on there just because I feel like not a lot of people saw it probably.
I've never even heard of it, but
Yeah.
that's something that I would watch.
I think you would cry a lot. Yeah.
Listening to it, I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah. I think
Because I know that that's real.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, it's good. Like, but I remember my mom watched it and she cried a lot because again she's been over there a bunch, and again my dad was born and raised in Africa. If you didn't know. So anyway, episode 15 of.
We're jumping right into it.
Jumping right in, no time for breaks.
Well, listen, they didn't take a break between episode 14 and 15. They were still there in elimination.
Well, they did take a break. It was a week-long break.
The people. Do you ever have a dream where you in the and you?
And yeah. The elimination is called Not So Fast with a K, like K-N-O-T. It's an elimination again. We've seen
It's classic. We see
a
this all
smaller
the time.
scale than some of the other ones.
My note was classic elimination. Next note, seemingly much smaller cage though.
Yeah, like half, maybe even like a quarter of the size of some of these we've seen.
But I think that almost helps make the elimination harder in a way because you've got two people tied together.
Yeah. Oh,
doing it.
Yeah, that for sure. And basically. If you don't know or for some reason didn't watch it, you have like 20 minutes, or maybe they only gave him 10 this time. I don't know, but it's probably 20 because that's typically what it is, to tangle your rope. And then you switch sides, and then whoever untangles and drags the entire rope across the finish line wins. So Jordyn and Alyssa take the approach of weaving theirs, which is where he wants to like do like little loops and then twist the rope through there and then make it confusing and not just a straight line to where you can kind of follow it all the way through.
He also said make
smart.
sure that we're not doing it all on one side.
Yes. And
so he was draping it from side to side, going in and out.
And immediately Casey and Kenny are just not moving very well. They're not strategically kind of, it seems like they're just kind of like winging it as rather than having any sort of plan.
Well, we do know that Alyssa has done this elimination before, maybe solo.
Yeah,
but she's done it before, so she kind of knows what it's like being in it.
Yes.
Jordyn, if he has not been in it before,
he's seen it.
He has seen it firsthand.
At
least once.
Yeah, I was telling you, I don't even know if the seasons Casey's been on, if they've even done this elimination. It may have been like they haven't done it in like 5 seasons or so.
Well, Tori said her money is on Casey and Kenny because they're smaller in stature.
Well, guess what? No. Guess what? Alyssa said, "Oh, my cooch."
I'm not there yet. Jordyn already wants to work smarter. Like this is it is kind of physical because you've got to get in and out of the little holes, and the rope.
It's endurance.
The rope is not going to be light. It's heavy rope because it's big.
It's like what you used to use like for huge boats.
Right. But there's a lot of strategy here. If you're not paying attention to the kind of knots that you're making, then you could very accidentally or not unknowingly, it could look like a big jumbled mess, but as soon as Casey and Kenny get in there, like they just pull on it once and it just comes apart.
Here's the thing. Like the other thing is like you don't have to undo all of the knots. You just have to get it off of the structure and across the finish line.
Right.
So you can weave all you want, and if it's just free hanging and it's just like, well, you just kind of like spun yourself in a circle, and we just like throw the rope over the top and then it just comes out. Like, who cares if that knot's still there? But more than anything, you got to think in opposite directions. So, like, everything you do to tangle at the beginning is what they're going to be doing at the very end.
Right.
And
he said they basically need to act like there's two ends to the rope, which there are. And so Jordyn is giving lots of instructions throughout the entire process, pushing and guiding Alyssa here and there. Cut to Kenny. He seems to be having a lot of trouble following Casey's directions. Yeah. Like, she's trying to tell him what to do, and it's almost like he's not understanding what she's saying. Here is where we get a confessional from Olivia saying Kenny is struggling. One is born an athlete, and one is born to be the sweetest person on the earth.
Yeah.
And then
it more than anything, he's just like freezing in the moment. Like, it's like, hey, you don't have time. Like, because Jordyn gets on Alyssa about that. It's like, you don't have time to like give me a second. It's like Casey's saying something, and then he's just like not processing it, and it's just like there's too much lag between like when she says it and when things happen. And
it's like it's not registering in his mind.
Yeah.
What she's telling him to do, and so you can almost see like his eyes glaze over in a way.
It's like the moment's too big for him.
Yeah, it almost like he's really cracking under the pressure.
Yeah, 100%.
Which, I mean, how many times has he been in a situation like this?
He's been in one elimination before this, and he lost.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could just be lack of experience.
He's not built to be on the show.
I don't think he is. But again, like, everybody talks about how awesome he is, how nice he is. There's a time and a place for that.
It's not this show.
It's not this show, and it's not this elimination.
Again, him and Big T should start their own whatever show together, where it's like the nicest people in the world.
Because, she went to culinary school, or was wanting to, so she could make the dishes, and he could be the critic.
Yeah,
but
here's the thing.
I would watch something like that.
She would make it, and he would never critique it. He'd be like, no, it's good. It's just good. Because he would be too nice.
Here's where Alyssa hurt her cooch, and Bananas yells out, she said, oh, my cooch.
Well,
and he's like crying.
Well, that's because she like straddled like a bar
one
at
of
the
top bars,
and it's
like fell off.
Her weight like took her, gravity just took over. And she's like, oh, my cooch. And it is like objectively that is very funny.
I mean, Bananas, I think it just made his whole night. Yeah. He looked like he was gonna cry from laughing so hard
because it's not vulgar. If she would have got vulgar with it, it wouldn't have been as funny. It's just the phrasing of it and the timing, and it's such a serious moment because like if you don't win this, like you're going home.
Yeah.
And then that just like breaks the tension.
Oh my cooch.
Yeah.
Devin also notices Alyssa starts to run out of gas. And here we get her telling Jordyn, just wait. And he comes back and he's like, no, we're not waiting. He is doing most of the work here. And all he needs from her is to just keep up with him.
Well, and at one point she is like, "Oh, ow," and he said, "No, ow." She's like, "We don't feel pain."
No, So she says at one point she's like, "I can't," and he said, "No, I can't. Yeah. You can. Yeah. You say I can." And then she said, "Ow," and he said, "No, ows. We don't feel pain."
Yeah.
And then Alyssa confessional. She says that his aggression is oddly motivating.
Yeah.
Like that's what she needed to just push through.
Yeah, which funny in the next elimination that's not the complete opposite. But yeah, she did say she needed that and he pushed her through and didn't let her quit. And because again, this would be another time right before the final where she would go home. And so they end up winning, and like it didn't even look like Jordyn. I mean, it didn't even look like Casey and Kenny were even like halfway done.
So somebody says, or some people say that they're neck and neck.
They do that in the confessionals all the time.
But then it cuts to a wide shot, and Casey and Kenny look pretty far behind.
They always say it. In every confessional, they're like, "Hey, we need you to say that this was pretty close." And so they win, Jordyn and Alyssa, and there's lots of crying all around. Anissa's crying, Jordyn's hugging her. Nany and Casey are crying because they're leaving each other. There's a big emotional farewell on all that. And so Casey and Kenny leave, and I believe it was pointed out in our Slack group, Patreon Slack group, that this is the first time Casey has been eliminated on any of her seasons. Because
she hasn't been.
She's made the finals in the other ones.
But didn't you say the other day that in eliminations she was like 3 and 5?
I did say that, and it wasn't a 3 and 5. It wasn't a 3 and 5. I think it's 3 and 2, and this is one of them. But actually, this may be 2 of them. This may be both losses because she lost 2 things in a row.
Oh, okay. Because I was trying to think, like, where's the other loss?
I mean, again, she went to that one final and tore patellar tendon.
Yeah.
And Fessy blamed it on her, even though he wasn't going to eat. She won with CT.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is this her 3rd season? Or is her 4th season?
It's not her 3rd season. There's no way.
I don't remember.
It's not possible.
Let me look it up. Casey Clark. When you Google Casey Clark, it comes up football player, which she did play flag football.
She was a football player.
Yeah. She has done 4 seasons. Made the final of Total Madness, didn't win. Made the final of Double Agents, didn't win. Spies, Lies, and Allies, she did win, and this is her first time getting kicked off beforehand.
Wow. Okay.
She has done 5 eliminations. She's 3 and 2, but I think that counts both of these, the push the barrel up the ramp and this one. Anyway, lots of crying. Get back to the house, and Mariah and Fessy are talking, and basically Mariah just lets Fessy know how she felt about him not like really like sticking up for her and all that stuff.
She said that she had a bad taste in her mouth, and like almost to completely discredit what she said, he immediately
I feel that too.
He immediately says that he felt betrayed by her. And I was like, what?
Well, he's
dude?
saying in that elimination where she didn't like tie it up, and it's like we've already discussed it. He went out of his way to like make sure.
Well, I don't know if you remember in the previous episode, so part 1 of this, after they won that elimination and got back into the house officially, they did a joint confessional where they both acknowledged that things had been kind of weird.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it.
They both just kind of have like weird energy in general.
They
sometimes.
both acknowledge that they're not on good terms.
Yeah.
Is what happened. But the fact that she's like, yeah, I just didn't have a good. I left with a bad taste in my mouth, and he's like, well, I felt betrayed by you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they both agree to forgive and forget, basically, because they're friends outside of the game.
Well,
is what they said.
No, here's the thing: they want to win $1 million.
Yeah, they want to win the money.
Yeah.
And if there is contention and strife and betrayal between them, they're not going to work well as a team in a final, and they need to be on the same page if they want to do well.
Well, we go to the daily after this.
You missed Bananas comforts Nani because she's crying and upset.
I hit lots of crying all around.
Well,
that was all an umbrella.
I thought it was nice that he assured her that he wants to be basically the shoulder to cry on since Casey's gone. He wants to fill the void. Not romantically, just friendship wise.
Well, she's a lesbian, so
that
wouldn't work anyway.
But they're also exes, so
is she a lesbian or is she bisexual? I don't know.
I think she's bi. But I like that this basically showed us firsthand that they are real life best friends, like real life ride or dies, unlike Fessy and Mariah.
Yeah, I mean, no, they're legitimate pairs on this season for sure.
But here's where, like, as soon as Casey left, Devin made a note where he wondered how that would affect Nani's game going forward. But here she assured Bananas that she's not checked out at all, and she still wants to give 100% to this game and try and win.
Again, that kind of segues into the daily, which is called Runaway Ride. TJ shows up on a bus, and he's like, this is going to be awesome for me.
Yeah.
And
This was wild.
I will say, like, I don't think they needed the explosions like when the bus drove by. I think that's just budgetary like nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, but I did like this daily.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a fun daily. It's different.
So many people threw up.
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
great.
Put them in a stress
Love it.
situation. I was fine with it. Amber and Chauncey go first. Again, I don't have a lot of notes for the specifics because, again, if you're listening, you saw the show, I'm assuming. So
they get freaking wrecked.
yeah, well, they're the first ones. They don't realize how much the bus is going to turn, and he hits that first like swerve, and she goes like face first into the wall.
Two things. One, I can't believe nobody busted their nose open.
I mean, I think they
On
padded
this?
those walls pretty good.
Still, like if you go face first, like you can still get bloody in there.
No, I know.
So something happens and she gets a little bit frazzled with him, and Chauncey yells out, "I'm looking. I'm also throwing up."
Yeah, and he did. He threw up.
They end up calling it at
Yeah.
7 out of 10 balls. Like they just quit.
Yeah, but honestly, not that bad of a score.
I mean, they got 7 out of 10 correct.
Yeah, and so Horacio and Olivia are next. They go fast, but that's really the only like indicator we get because we don't get a note at the bottom of theirs because like at the end of Amber and Chauncey, it said 7 out of 10 correct.
Mhm.
When Horacio and Olivia did it, we just got like reaction shots from everyone being like, "Oh, that was pretty fast," because they're trying to build suspense. So, Anissa and Jordyn go.
While playing my favorite Sum 41 song.
They started playing In Too Deep, and that album.
Great.
Well, just like that era of that type, like that's like when I really started to like learn guitar, and so like I learned a lot of their songs and like the similar bands and stuff like that. So like that will always hold a special era, and like a lot of Sum 41 albums are not great, especially anything after Does This Look Infected is very iffy. Chuck Is Okay. Anything after that is just awful. But All Killer No Filler, which is where that came from, I really liked, and that's where like Fat Lip and stuff came from as well. But in Too Deep, the guitar solo in that, when I first heard it, I was like, this is the best guitar player I've ever heard in my life. And it's really not that hard looking back at it now. It's just a lot of tapping, but it's like, but like at the time, I was like, man, he has a Parried Smith in that pool, and I was like, that's a very expensive guitar, and like he just came out of the water with it and ruined it. But you know, that's what happens.
You gotta do what you gotta do for a music video.
So Anissa and Tori only get 1 out of 10 correct.
Anissa and Jordyn,
sorry, 1 out of 10 correct. And I was like, that's wow,
really bad.
Like Amber and Chauncey got 7 and they went first. And Anissa and Jordyn filled up. It's not like they only put like 1 in on each side.
No, they
did
got
10.
all 10.
So then Mariah and Fessy go, they get 8 out of 10. And then Tori and Jordyn go. I mean, Tori and Devin, sorry.
Yeah.
Again, there's so much overlap with personal relationships that they're going, and Devin is wanting to check one more lap to go by the score key again before they pull their lever. But Tori's throwing up on herself.
Like it cuts to like a wide shot of the bus, and Tori like turns to look and like projectile vomits all over her arm and her side, and Devin just goes, "Okay."
Yeah, and he's like, no, and she pulls the lever, and he's like, what do you? And she's like, Devin, I'm throwing up all over myself. And he's like, okay, fine.
He was upset with her at first, but then he was like, you know what? We did the best we could.
They got 8 out of 10 correct, and then Nani and Bananas go, and again, no numbers, so you know it's going to be between them and Horacio and Olivia because those are the only 2 teams we didn't get numbers for. But
Bananas said that he thinks that he and Nani finished faster than everyone else.
Yeah, again, they kind of got to see how things go, and I'm sure that they talked a little bit with people who had got, oh, that's a lot crazier than I thought it was going to be. And so they win because they got all 10 correct.
TJ said there was one pair head and shoulders above the rest and got all 10 balls correct.
So that means it didn't come down to a time limit. So that means Horacio and Olivia did not get 10.
But why did we not find out how many they got
I think just
right?
because they had so many reactions where they're like, oh, they went so fast that anyway, basically they get told instead of picking like 4 teams to go into deliberation, pick 1 team to save because it's the same difference.
Tori thinks that this is good because she has a great relationship with Nany, and Devin has a blooming friendship with Bananas.
Yeah, again, the Bananas and Devin thing is more of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and like they're working together in numbers' sake only because it's beneficial to both of them.
Yeah.
So we get to the deliberation, and I thought, Bananas obviously has, a budding relationship with Mariah, but
Fessy.
I was like, you don't want Fessy to be around.
It seems to me like the final is going to be like the next episode.
It's soon. Yeah, it's going to be soon. And so
why would you not want to get Fessy out as soon as possible?
Well, because I think more than anything, they just are like, if we put them in, there's a good chance they'll probably come back just because they are so much bigger than every other team. And
well, Nany told Bananas that she thinks saving Fessy and Mariah is in their best interest because of who everyone else would save if the roles were reversed.
Yeah.
And Bananas said that he really liked the idea of having Fessy and Mariah in their corner this late in the game to hey, I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
If there's another daily and Fessy and Mariah win.
But would Fessy do that? They throw him a bone. Is he really going to throw it back?
I don't know. I think Mariah would fight for it, but
I think she would too. But also, we saw all season long how Fessy kind of steamrolled over Mariah.
Well, we get to the interrogation part, and Chauncey and Amber come in, and
they show up like they're applying for a business loan.
I don't think we got an explanation as to why they were so dressed up. Like, maybe they were going out later that night, but if they did, we didn't see it.
Mm-mm.
And
the only thing I can think is, so before the daily, Amber has a little confessional or voiceover something where she says that her bags stay packed because she's always ready to go into elimination because she thinks she's always going to go in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that they're volunteering to go into elimination, like to be the vote
we didn't know that
for elimination. The only thing I can think is they're like, well, we need to plead our case. We want to seem like, we really know what we're doing, so we need to dress really professionally.
That doesn't make any sense.
To have them make them take us seriously.
If anything, Banana's like, oh, are you here for the job interview?
Yeah.
And anyway, I mean, they looked good. But it's just it seemed strange.
I mean, maybe they knew that this might be their last chance. I don't know.
Well, anyway, they do tell them they want to go in, and that kind of shocks Nany and Bananas. And then Tori and Devin come in, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? Amber and Chauncey just nominated themselves." And they're like, "Well, that's weird."
Tori was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
But then Devin pipes up and explains that he thinks it's Amber's Hail Mary to look like the hero instead of sneaky, like she has been apparently looking. He brought that up, and we're like, maybe this is a thing in the house.
And Anissa says the same thing later.
But he said it's also her way to try and gain favors from Nany Bananas to be like, oh, I didn't make Nany say anybody's name, so I volunteered. And then my next note is... Anissa says basically the same thing as Devin, and Jordyn says, been there, done that, doesn't really work out.
From Free Agents.
When he volunteered to go in against Bananas.
Yeah, and again, it does seem like it's, for whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it because I'm not there.
We can't figure it out. They're not showing it to us.
People in the house, 1, don't like, and 2, do not trust Amber.
Everybody thinks that she's sneaky and conniving, and
people are like, oh, they have deals with everyone, and they're like, oh, they're just doing this to try to save them. It's all underhanded stuff, and it's maybe, I don't know, but it's
production's not showing it to us.
Anissa and Jordyn think it's very weird that they're nominating themselves, and then Horacio and Olivia are told that as well, and they're just like, yeah, that's strange. And then Olivia says at one point in her confessional that Horacio on his other show went home right before the final. I gotta be honest, I don't know what show he came from.
I don't either, but she said
me look.
that he was eliminated right before the final.
What's his last name?
I don't
Is
know.
it Horacio Pagani? Is he an Italian businessman?
No, that's not him.
Horacio Gutierrez.
There it is. Scroll down.
He's a Cuban-American classical pianist.
No.
There's a soccer thing. Let me see TV show. Obviously the challenge. Yeah. Let's go on his IMDb. No, that's the pianist because he played at the Philharmonic in the 50s. Nope. How many Horacio Gutierrez's are there? Who are Horacio Gutierrez and Olivia Kaiser? Maybe this article from sportskita.com will tell us. There's Horacio. Made the final of Exaltan Estudiados Unidos, which would be, I'm assuming, Exile of the United States. EXALTON, but the T.
It's not ALT.
ATLON.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
why I leaned up because I knew you didn't say that right.
I've never heard of that show. I'm going to see what that is. It's a Telemundo show. Interesting.
Oh, okay.
I wonder what the premise is. All of these websites are in Spanish, and so they're not going to do me a lot of good. Even the Wikipedia article's in Spanish. And, oh, hold on. Let me get rid of this. Yes, at the beginning of this article.
No, you lost it.
No, I'll find it.
Anyway, while you're doing that, so Horacio was eliminated right before the final of this show. And then we get Anissa going through the list of her seasons where she went home right before the final, which it was like 4 or 5 different seasons.
This article only exists in Spanish about this show. But it's a very popular franchise that's been in Brazil, Colombia, Hungary, Mexico, Romania, Slovenia, and Turkey. And then there's also a United States version, but it's all in Spanish.
They've got 7 seasons.
7 seasons of it in Spanish. Interesting. But I can't read the article because it's all in Spanish.
Anyway, so we get to the elimination. Bananas surprisingly decides to give Amber and Chauncey their wish. And TJ, when he hears it, he looks at Amber and Chauncey and he's like, really? You know this is for $1 million, right?
Oh, no, yeah, we know.
Yeah. I almost... Maybe I was just looking too far into it. It almost seemed like when TJ asked that, maybe Amber started second-guessing their decision.
I didn't see that, but, I mean... I think that they're like, this is our only option right now is to just say this.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to volunteer for elimination right before the final. This should be the time to avoid it at all costs. But like her whole reasoning was they'd rather volunteer and know for a fact that they're going in instead of waiting for, the chances of pulling the safe dagger or not. I think they probably know that nobody would have saved them if they didn't pull the safe dagger.
They had no alliances. Like, they would not have had anything like that. Yeah, so by the way, if you're interested, Horacio is on Quinta Temporada All-Stars edition of this show. Which I guess he's an all-star, even though he hasn't been on other seasons. But again, I'm trying to just piece together what's happening based on my very limited Spanish, which we did talk about earlier in the episode.
We weren't planning on doing this though.
No, I had no idea. I didn't know it was a Spanish language show he came from. And so, yeah. Anyway, they're in the elimination, and Horacio and Olivia pull the safe dagger.
Well, you missed it real quick. So TJ asked them, like, really? You know this for $1 million? Yeah. yeah, sure.
We already talked about that.
Anissa confessional, she was just over it. She said, "Girl, we all know you're doing this for you, not some noble bull crap. I call bull crap."
I didn't miss it. We just everyone was on the same page with that. They're like, this isn't anything like noble.
But the fact that Anissa was just like kind of fed up with it at this point was awesome.
Well, anyway, Horacio and Olivia pull the safe dagger. I thought they might save Tori and Anissa because
Jordyn and Anissa.
Good Lord. Because he's so close with Jordyn.
Yeah, they're like best buds.
Yeah, and so that didn't happen. They actually saved Devin and Tori because Jordyn and Anissa, I guess, had nominated them or said their names or whatever.
Horacio said it was he really likes Jordyn, but it was because Anissa had said his name separately when they were on teams.
Yeah.
She voted for him twice for an elimination, and he's like, Tori and Devin didn't do that. But also, I don't know.
So the elimination's called Rumble Tumble, which I don't think we've seen this or really an iteration of it. Like we've seen where it's like you're tied together and you got to like go to like a destination, like a pole or something, but or a buzzer. It's not been like you have to knock something over and there's 6 things in the arena. Initially, you're just like, well, like Anissa's gonna just drag Amber around. Like Amber's very frail and very skinny, and Anissa just has weight on her.
Yeah,
and like that's basically exactly what happened.
Yeah, Anissa drags Amber around like a rag doll.
Yeah, and the reason I said earlier, you were talking about how Jordyn was motivating her or whatever. Jordyn tries in this, and she's just like, "Shut up, I know." And then Tori's like, "You got it," and she's like, "I know." And I was like, okay, she doesn't want anyone motivating her for this one because I think she knew like this one she had.
Yeah,
like the other one she like was thinking about giving up
because she had gotten the first 2 blocks over and she was trying to get to the third one, but Amber was like really like digging ditches in the sand to make it harder. And Jordyn was yelling to her like, "You got this, you're almost there, keep going," and she's like, "Shut up, Jordyn." He was like, "Okay."
Yeah, like again, like she knew she was gonna win this.
Well, afterwards Jordyn has a confessional where he's just like really proud, and he's like, Anissa is realizing that she can do anything. And further in, he's like, you have to have blind confidence in yourself. And I think that's something that Jordyn has probably been repeating to himself his whole life. Like, you have to have blind confidence in yourself because nobody else is going to.
100%. And I've talked to you about this, and it's not a thing that I originated, but I think it came from even like Bill Simmons and stuff like back in the day, is if you want to win an NBA championship, you have to have at least one, if not a couple of like what they call irrational confidence guys who no matter what's happened, no matter how bad they've been,
how many shots they've missed,
if they haven't made a shot all night long, when the moment comes, you have to have guys who are like, "Oh yeah, I'll make it." Like, and that's the thing with like professional sports is like you either have that or you don't. And it's hard to find guys who are not afraid of the moment. And like you've gotta be able to just like think that no matter what, like if you're Jordyn and you're stacked up against you, like, oh yeah, I got it. I win. Who cares? And so she wins 3-0. They hook the guys together. And immediately Jordyn is just standing up straight. And I looked at you and I was like, he's going to use his momentum against him. I was like, I don't know how, but I think he knows that like in a dead pool, like Chauncey's bigger than him.
So we talked about it before they started. We're like, okay, Chauncey's probably taller than Jordyn.
He's honestly not that much
definitely
taller.
weighs more.
He weighs more.
We went through this with Anissa and Amber. We're like, okay, Anissa's bigger than Amber, but by how much? Like how much does Amber probably weigh? Because we don't know how tall she is.
Yeah.
And then Anissa says in the middle of it that she's got 30 pounds on Amber or something like that.
Something along those lines.
And I was like, okay, so that's going to be a big differentiator, if that's a word.
I think so.
With Chauncey, like, so they were standing up, you know, beside each other, and we realized that they are closer in height.
Yeah.
But
Chauncey got a lot more muscle.
Jordyn is down by 30 or 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And by a whole hand.
Yes, and in this, like, you're digging in the sand and stuff. And so I was like, he's going to do it again and use his momentum against him.
Jordyn is going to do what Jordyn does and do Jordyn things. And somehow find a way to win.
And then the next confessional, he's like, he's going to think we're going to be pulling opposite directions like the girls did and whatever. And he's like, I'm just going to use his momentum. And I was like, he's going to use that momentum to run and get his first one. And then he's ahead. And then he just has to get to the next couple. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Chauncey starts pulling. Jordyn runs instead of running opposite direction. And then even instead of running, obviously you don't want to take Chauncey to his first one. He just takes a hard, like, 90-degree turn and just takes him by surprise. And so now he's off balance and he's being pulled from the side.
And instead of being pulled from behind where you can really fight
you're like
you
on
can
one
dig
leg.
in with your shoulders. When you're being pulled to the side, that's hard to fight.
Well, especially when you don't know it's going to happen and it's so sudden. And so
it was so incredible when they did the wide shot and before the horn was blown. Jordyn's standing there with his hands just in front of him, just looking up around,
nothing's about to happen,
whatever. Yeah. And Chauncey is crouched, ready to take off. And he says that he realizes Chauncey's ready to sprint. And he's like, good, let him run. I'm going to go with him.
It's the Josh tug-of-war situation all over again.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
Where he stalled out Darrell in All-Stars.
He's incredible. Yeah. And he basically uses Chauncey for each block. He's using Chauncey to carry him halfway to of his blocks to exert less energy.
Well, it's every other pyramid or whatever it's like one's yellow, one's blue, one's yellow, one's blue. And so as long as Jordyn gets his first one, he'll let Chauncey like panic and think, oh, I got to get to mine, which in turn takes him halfway to the next yellow one.
And it worked the first 2 times.
Yeah, and so again, he does it and he knocks his, and then I think Chauncey realized like, oh, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't until going for the third block that Chauncey realized what was happening, and so he really dug in a lot harder, and so they were between the last 2 blocks,
even between the two,
and they were right in the middle, both pulling in opposite directions, and this is where Chauncey probably has the upper hand because he's just got more muscle mass and more strength
and more hands
But Jordyn confessional, he's like, I am never gonna quit. I'm gonna live in Chauncey's dreams.
Yeah.
And he starts digging in, and like that's what this elimination is. We've seen it different variations, but that's what it is. It is inch by inch.
It's who doesn't give up,
not foot by foot.
Yeah.
And Jordyn, inch by inch, starts getting closer to his block. TJ, of all people, starts screaming out, "Look at this guy! Look at this guy!"
It's not even that. That was after, because like the inch by inch thing is what happens, but at a certain point, the like fulcrum just swings, and then Jordyn's got the momentum, and Chauncey's backtracking essentially, and that's when TJ is just yelling, "Look at this guy!" Because it's just like, this shouldn't happen. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And like,
it doesn't make sense.
The fact that that's TJ's reaction in the middle of an elimination, because it's not over yet, and it's just like it's just crazy. And so Jordyn wins 3-2.
Devin confessional, he says this is what separates rookies from champions.
It's not even that. I mean, Jordyn is such a freak, honestly, at eliminations, especially, that like. It's not even that it was a rookie versus a vet. It's just like you just went up against a juggernaut. It's that it was
someone against Jordyn.
Yeah, it's just like Jordyn is in a weird level of his own. And, it does help that, a rookie versus veteran. Yeah, but it's, again, it's a whole nother thing. Like, honestly, Horacio versus Chauncey would have probably been a lot closer, because they probably would have just both been like, hey, we're going to strength and
Yeah.
tire each other out. But again, you just got to think outside the box, and that's how he wins these eliminations. It's the same thing with in the Darrell and Last All Stars, where he just
Darrell's so much bigger than him.
and Darrell was like about to win, and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna lock him up and tire him out, and he just hung on until Darrell like basically incapacitated himself and couldn't move his legs anymore. And it's just like it's insane. Like that's why the elimination against Horacio felt so different, is because like there wasn't that like, oh, I'm taking this strategy, I'm gonna outthink him. It's just like I'm just gonna play. And it's just unusual.
It was not the same.
Anyway, that's the end of that episode.
Before we get to it, last note, I can't believe you forgot it.
I don't have anything
as
else.
they're saying goodbye, Amber looks to the house and encourages her fellow rookie girls to get to the final.
She didn't say fellow. She said my rookie girls, which makes it sound like, oh,
she's
that we're
part
all
of
part
the
of
rookie girls.
And I looked at you and I was like,
she's not a rookie.
I was like, did she mean it like that? I was like, why did it? Because she does always align herself with rookies, even
And
though
she has identified herself with the rookie girls.
Yeah,
the whole season.
This
is
strange.
her third season,
and she's won.
And she's won before.
She won with CT, and it's wild. So, for the superlatives for this episode, I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
For who smashed him, it's Jordyn.
Jordyn.
Like it's just
all day long. It is Jordyn.
I mean, it's unreal, and I'm not even gonna like discredit Chauncey. Like,
no, it's just Jordyn. It's Jordyn
just, like,
being Jordyn.
You shouldn't win that, and then of course, again, just being able to see like TJ's reaction, because he's seen a million eliminations at this point, but for it to just like make him that excited to see and start yelling. Like it's just like wild. So yeah, I think it's Jordyn clearly.
Yeah, I said
Okay,
Jordyn. I said Jordyn all day long.
All right. Well, for me, for who got their head smashed, it's Kenny.
Oh,
It's the beginning of the episode.
I completely forgot
this same episode.
that it was the same episode.
Like, I mean, again, him and Big T should have their own "Who's the Nicest" competition where they're the hosts or something, but it's not.
They're the hosts and the competitors.
No, yeah, no one would win.
So there's
you should
everyone
win.
wins. There's no losers.
No one would win because everyone would be like, I think you should win. I probably shouldn't. And everyone would just keep passing it around until they all die. And so, what's yours?
Who got their head smashed?
Yeah.
I put Chauncey. One, he was vomiting on himself in the bus.
You did.
Two, he let Amber talk him into volunteering for elimination.
But his justification was, I didn't compete in the daily. But that was 2 dailies ago.
Yeah. Three, he got beat in a physical elimination versus a guy 30 pounds lighter than him with one hand.
I don't hold that against him. I think Jordyn might beat every person there in this, other than Fessy, just out of pure strength and size. But even
Fessy's
then,
mass would
even
probably
then,
be too much for him.
If you were like, yeah, Jordyn won that, I'd be like, yeah, probably. Like, he probably would. But okay, so for you movies,
for movies of the week, our letter is you.
Our letter is you.
You're all over the place.
Well,
for this.
Our letter is you for this week.
Episode 15.
I had a very hard. This is the hardest time.
I had a really hard time with it.
I almost came to you and said, "Let's just skip the letter U."
No, I have 5 movies.
I have 3.
Okay. We'll do that.
And I like. There are movies on here under you that like I've seen, but they're not ones that like. Undercover Brother is a movie that I've seen.
I almost
but
put
I did
that
not.
one.
I'm not going to recommend it.
I almost put that one. I was like, you know what? I'm going to save it just in case I can't find it.
That is not a recommendation movie. Well, then I don't know. Like I feel like we might overlap on all 3 of the ones that I picked.
I don't think so.
Okay. Then you go first because I've only got 3.
Okay. Up.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I didn't think you would put it.
Yeah, Up is absolutely on my list.
It's such a good movie.
And it starts off very heavy.
It is really sad.
Yeah.
But it's such a good movie.
Yeah, Up, a great movie. And should be on the list, but I only have 2 more.
Okay.
I'm not going to go because you're probably going to name all 3 of mine.
Okay. Underworld.
I did not pick Underworld as one of mine. No.
Oh, Yeah,
The, like,
Underworld. Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale, like
Yes.
vampire movie.
Yes.
Is that another one you and your mom watched together?
No, it's one that I would watch on a loop for years.
What a weirdo.
It's good.
That's Pete Davidson ex. Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, but they only dated for like 2 weeks.
Oh, it still happened.
Anyway, so like Underworld and then Underworld
Did you- yeah,
Evolution,
just pick all
which
the
is the second one.
sequels?
No, because not all the sequels are good. But Evolution is good too, though. That's the second one.
I haven't seen them, but it's not.
It's like
any-
2003 and then 2006.
It's not anything that I would have seen. Well, keep going because
Uptown Girls.
I don't have that. I don't honestly know what that is off the top of my head.
Okay, Uptown Girls. It was like early 2000s. Brittany Murphy, and then Dakota Fanning. So Brittany Murphy is like, she's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a really rich girl,
Rest
and
in
then
peace.
she ends up like having to get a job, so she becomes Dakota Fanning's
She
nanny.
becomes Dakota Fanning.
No, she is hired to be Dakota Fanning's nanny, and I just remember really liking it. But I've always been a fan of Brittany Murphy. I liked everything she was in. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, because it's not.
6.1 on IMDb.
That means critics on Rotten Tomatoes are like, this is terrible, and the audience are like, hey, I was 11 and I thought it was great.
It was great.
Yeah, that's not her last movie, but it's pretty close. 2009 was the last movie she had that came out. She died of mold poisoning.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Her and her husband both. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure. So yeah, I didn't have that. Just keep going.
Okay.
Because if you don't answer it, then I'll pick mine. But
Unaccompanied Minors.
no, I didn't
It's a
pick that.
Christmas movie. I've only seen it like twice. It's not good.
Well, then don't pick it. That's why I didn't pick Undercover Brother.
I thought because we've had like
Yeah, this one where they're at like the airport.
yeah they all get stuck at the
I've
airport
not seen it, but I
and
know what it
then
is.
the girl that's supposed to be like the one that everybody has a crush on, her family goes on Christmas vacation to Park City to ski
I've not seen
without
it. Yeah,
her,
yeah.
and she gets stuck there, and she's like, my whole family's having Christmas without me, and they don't even care that I'm stuck at this airport.
Well, that's definitely not one that I would have recommended.
I mean, it's a Christmas movie about kids that get stuck in an airport over Christmas. Wilmer Valderrama's in it.
Wow. What's your next one?
Um,
Is this the last one?
It's the last one, and I know
So one of these. So I will have
I
one
know
that you-
for a fact that you have this one on your list.
Well, then, did you look at my phone?
No.
Okay.
Okay. On the count of three, we're both going to say it. 1, 2, 3. Uncharted.
Yeah. That's the first one that I put on there, and I was like,
I
oh,
really like that movie.
okay, so I'm conflicted by it. I liked it, and I would watch more of them for sure, but it does not hold a candle to any of the games.
I didn't play any of the games,
I know.
but I
But
like movies like this, and I love Tom Holland, and I freaking love Mark Wahlberg.
But the thing, like, Uncharted 4 is maybe my favorite video game of all time. And so, like, I am very... Yeah, like, I liked the movie. Like, a lot of people hated it that were, like, really big fans of the games. But I liked it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I would absolutely watch more of these. Because, again,
Yeah.
I like that style of stuff, too.
it was a fun adventure game.
Yeah, it's just a fun, like, old world tech and, like, solving mysteries. Like, yeah, I'm all in for that.
That's the kind of stuff that I like.
The Uncharted games are incredible, but I had that on my list. But again, I only had Uncharted and Up, and I only had one other one,
What was your other one?
Uncle Buck.
Oh, I saw that it showed up on all the lists that I looked at, and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but I even thought you probably had seen
How do you
it.
not know what that is? That seems right up your alley. Do you not know what it is? It's John Candy as the uncle and Macaulay Culkin, like right after like Home Alone, maybe even it was like right before Home Alone, and he's just like the uncle to them, and very similar time. It was like right after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and stuff. It's a John Hughes movie. The cult '80s director.
Yeah.
All the movies you love. I don't know how you've never seen this.
I don't know either.
Yeah, John Candy. I love John Candy.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, and isn't that Parker Posey? Is she not in this? I don't know.
Pull up the cast.
It's not Parker Posey. But yeah, it's a good movie. That's one that I used to watch on TV.
Oh, 1989. That was.
That's what I'm saying. It's.
How have I not seen this?
I don't know. And it's written and directed by John Hughes. Like again, he did Pretty in Pink, and he did
Breakfast Club.
Yeah, he did basically
my favorite movie of all time.
Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science. Like,
how
have you? I don't know how you've not seen this movie.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, Uncle Buck is a great movie. I'm sure everyone else out there probably knows what it is, but anyway, that is it. Long episode, but we had to get caught up, and then we will be recording later this week to be fully caught up before the final, and so we'll be ready to go. But again, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I have not been posting on there very much at all because we've been behind. Didn't want anything spoiled because we try to stay spoiler free, even though some things kind of leak out regardless based on weird algorithms and stuff like that. So. Again, we don't know who wins this season or anything like that, so we're still going in. And just if anyone's wondering, like, I think we're still both enjoying this season, like maybe even more than like the last few.
Absolutely.
And it's just the timing has been weird because obviously we moved in the middle of it, and then we had to go back home in the middle of it.
And then I've switched jobs already.
Yeah, it's just been like there's been, a lot of weird life changes that wouldn't typically happen in the middle of a season. So we're not out or down on this season at all. We're just trying to make everything work in a timely manner. So we'll be back to you later this week, and until then,
stay cute.